So I just wanted to do a video about my first impressions with Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. So full disclosure, I'm about 43 hours into the game, which I know that probably feels weird to do a first impressions at 43 hours. And believe me, I wanted to do it at around like 20-25, but I wanted to get the skull first before I actually did the review. And I was only going to play, it took about 33 hours to get the skull, which I play these games kind of slow. I do a lot of the missions, like pretty much everything I can do before the next quest, and it takes about 6 mainline quests to get the skull. But my first impressions with the game, if you're a Xenoblade fan, you probably already own the game, but if you don't, I can definitely say you will be happy with this. I guess we can start with the combat. The combat is pretty much what you know from Xenoblade 1. Xenoblade 1 has like a big emphasis on like toppling enemies and everything, and this game has toppling, but it's just not as big a mechanic. It has the same combat as you would see in the game like Xenoblade 1, 2, or even 3. Xenoblade 2's combat's a little bit different, but that's why I wanted to get the skulls before I really did anything as far as first impressions. Because I feel like these things are a big part of what makes the game interesting over other Xenoblade games. The difference between skill combat and normal combat really isn't that big a difference. Your player learns arts through the class system that this game has, and you can see there's a bunch of classes. I'm at level 34, yeah. I'm at level 34, and I've maxed out one class, and then I'm working my way through a second class. The whole idea behind this class system is essentially once you max out a class, you can then use that class's weapons and arts in the Drifter class, which the Drifter class lets you use any weapon, and then obviously any art you've already learned. But you can learn any art and skill can be used on any class. Or I'm sorry, no, arts cannot be used between classes. So you can use any skill between classes, which this is the skill screen. You can see I have all of the skills for the Stalker, Samurai Gunner, and now I'm working my way through Duelist. And then Commando, Winged Viper, Full Metal Jaguar, I have all of them from that, and I can use the skills from those. And then this is your art screen. You earn arts through level up, as well as some affinity missions will give you upgrades, and some affinity missions will give you arts as well. Each one of the playable characters has their own special art. And the difference between that and then the skill combat is skulls have arts as well. And we can go into that through skull gear. And your skills have, skill weapon, skill armor, and then the skill frame is basically what kind of skill you have. The skill weapons are your arts. So you have your 2 auto-attacking weapons. I was testing out what happens when you have 2 of the same exact weapon. What I'm looking here is, well, I can get into that later, but yeah, so each one of these is what my skills, or my arts are. And you can see some of them are like right back only, which takes up the left back slot. So you could actually have 8 arts, but because I wanted a powerful art, this one is easily the best art I've found so far for the mix. It'll take up 2 slots, and there are those for the shoulders as well, where there's some weapons that only work with the right shoulder, like this one. It's this giant gun thing on the side. And you can see that through there are different ones. And skill armor is just upgrades. Sadly, the armor on the skills don't actually change the appearance. That was a bit of a disappointment for me. But you can actually change the entire color scheme of the skull itself. Though the weapons, they don't color match, so your weapons will look a little weird. You can also see the difference. There are 3 kinds of skulls. There's the light skull, which is what this character's using. Then there's a medium skull, and then heavy skull. And this is a heavy skull. And it's basically just, I would say it's like how much you want to use the skull. If you want to use the skull a lot, heavy skull is basically a requirement. There's a fuel meter you can see that's at, 3100 on mine, right below the minimap. If you want to use the skull a lot, you'll need the heavy skull, because it has the most fuel, and then even then you can see I use a lot of fuel. And that's if you want to use it a lot in combat. If you just want to use it for traversing, which this is probably the one that this character's using, the light skull there, and you get that skull through an affinity mission. If you want to use them for movement, the light skull is probably the best, and then you can do all the same stuff the heavy skull can do. It just has less less ammo, less armor, or I guess less fuel would be the better way to say it. But the skill combat does trivialize some enemies, so I've actually upgraded mine. He's a little bit worse on armor, but he has a ton of health. And there's some fights that you would run into with like my character's at 33. And Xenoblade combat for the most part is kind of just like be the same, if not higher level than them, and you'll usually have a pretty easy time, and then anything higher level than you can sometimes just one-shot you for no reason. But the skills kind of trivialize combat. They do a ton of damage, as well as being able to take a lot of damage in turn. So I fought like level 43 monsters, and they've kind of just been trivialized by this thing, because if I got out of the skull, I would instantly die. Though, if the skull breaks, it does cost, you can get insurance for them, which basically just gives it to you back for free, but if it does break and you don't have insurance on it, it costs a lot of money. I actually haven't run into how much that is yet, but I imagine it's quite a bit. It actually costs quite a bit just to refuel these, which I guess that segues really great into the map. So this is your map screen. The map screen is set into three different pages, essentially. So you have your map, which shows you all of your waypoints you can teleport to, as well as mission objectives. And you can see there are blue missions, there are green missions, orange missions, and main quests are red missions. And you can see they're kind of dotted all around the map. I've actually completed quite a few, but you can see I have some green missions out here still to do. Then you have your segmented page, which shows you kind of your progress. Each one of these cells has something to do in them. And you can see like these are treasures, so I found an object in the world and you can basically loot them. And then these are called tyrants. Each area, or well, a lot, like each area is like each one of these big areas. So this is Oblivia. Then you have Primordia, Noctilum, Sylvalum, and then Kalidros. Those are like your 5 main areas that you'll be throughout the game. And they are kind of separated off into their own biomes. And they have these tyrants in them, which are basically a little bit stronger enemies. And you'll get missions to go kill tyrants, or you'll just be walking around, and if you think you can beat the tyrant, you can just challenge the tyrant or whatever. In different characters, you can see I have like little locked markers, and these could be locked for quests, or they could be locked because I haven't found the intel for them yet. A lot of characters will have yellow text boxes above their heads, and they will actually tell you like special information about the area. And then you have the Frontier Nav. The Frontier Nav, which it looks complicated because I've actually explored quite a bit. We can go to an area that I haven't explored at all. What's the best way to show this? Okay, so in the segment screen, you can see, and I highlight some of them if I'm like working my way through that area. You can see there's these little segment recon. Basically what happens is you go to an area, and kind of like an Ubisoft tower, you kind of hold A on a spot on the ground, and there's a cool animation for it when you start the game, for like you're planting this big like radar thing in the ground, but you kind of just hold A on it in the actual game. And it sets these little points up for you, and you can teleport to them. Oh, you can actually see I have one right here. So it sets up these little points on the ground for you to install different things, and you can see I have like mining ones. This is a storage one. This is a booster one, and there's a couple different ones. There's research ones. And basically what that's doing is, if you look in the bottom, you can see the mining total, revenue total, and storage limit. Basically, the storage limit and what that's holding is a currency that gets mined out of the ground. And that's basically like, you can basically just think of it like a resource currency. The point of it is so that you can actually upgrade the shops, and that's also what you use to refuel the mechs, the skills. The revenue is generated by research. So these little research ones actually produce money for you, and that's why you can see I have 2.3 million. I think I just upgraded my skill, which costs like a good amount of money, and you could see I actually had 5 million before I did that. So you get a lot of money from it, and you can see I don't even know how to say it, the Mirenium. That's what the mining resource is called. You can see I'm almost full on the bottom, which means I need to go spend it. All that happens though when you fill up the the thing, and these little storage units actually give you more storage limit. All that happens is you just don't get any anymore. The only thing I will say, the game doesn't warn you about it. It would be nice if it like gave you like a notification like, oh, your storage is full, because I have done like tons of missions in a row and just forgotten about it. So now that we have this one open, if you look at the little tab that gets pulled up, you can see mineable resources, and there's like production, revenue, combat support. I don't really know what any of that means. I'm gonna be honest, there might have been a screen that read it. It doesn't seem to ever matter that much, but you can see the mineable resources. This is kind of all I care about. It says mineable resources none, or it says mineable resources something. So you need to put a mining unit on it if you want to actually get those resources, and some characters will actually ask you for those resources, and these are the only ways to get them. So it's nice to have them before they start asking for them, so you can kind of auto-complete a mission. And you can see I have tons of different probes, all the different mining probes, as well as the research probes, a bunch of different levels, booster probes, which basically the way that the booster probes work is when you place it, say that I placed another mining probe here. So I think I have a G4 there. There's no reason, actually. Well, it doesn't matter what we put here. I'll just put like a G10. Sure, I don't care. I should probably line up. Actually, sorry, let me just change that to like a G8 or G5. Okay, I'll stop changing it. Okay, so we put a G5 there. And the if you see any of them with G1s, it's because I didn't have a good probe to put there, so I just put a G1 there to remind myself to replace them. So now that I have some booster probes and storage probes, actually this could be cool to show you. So I will change it again. We'll change it to a 4 probe, because I have this thing called a duplicator probe. And I think what this should let me do, it doesn't do it. So when you line up 3 in a row, it gives you a boost, but this doesn't count. But either way, I don't think it's worth having, so I'll just switch it to being a storage probe, because more storage is better. And it costs money to change them out, but honestly, you make so much money in this game, it's irrelevant. But yeah, so then you can see these are what happens when you put 3 in a row. They get boosted. You basically just mines more resources, or it gives you like a boost to the total resource mine or something like that. But yeah, basically these are like any Ubisoft game towers. There's a lot of them in this game, but it doesn't feel that bad to go around collecting them. I feel like the map does lead pretty good into the mission screen. So as you can see, you have 4 kinds of missions. I will refer to these in a specific way. So you have your red missions, your orange missions, blue, and then green. Your red missions are your main missions. Obviously, you can see I've done 7 of them. The main missions are fun for the most part. They do... It feels weird because the story is interesting. I will say when I first started the game, I had absolutely no interest in the characters, the story. But as I've played more, I've definitely gotten more interested in the story. Then you have your orange missions. These are your affinity missions, or what I would call them to somebody. If I was talking to somebody, I would just call them side quests. These are your side quests. These are fully voice acted. There's usually a beginning, middle, and end cutscene to all these missions. This is what you're doing between your main missions. Then you have your green missions and your blue missions. Now, your blue missions you get from a board, and for the most part, this is all just busy work stuff. There's a lot of them. You can accept 20 of these blue missions at a time. They call them basic missions and normal. They call them basic missions and normal missions. So what I would just call busy work missions, your blue ones. For the most part, it's just stuff like if you're out in the world and you see one, I just do them. Sometimes you need to accept these basic missions to do like a story mission or an affinity mission, but all it requires is to walk to the board, accept it, and then it allows you to accept an affinity mission. And then you have your green missions. These are essentially just named character missions. So if there's a named character in the world that has a green question mark above their head, the missions, pretty much every mission in this game is identical, whether it's a story mission, busy work mission, or an affinity mission. It's just kind of what happens during them that's a little bit different. Like affinity missions have cutscenes, basic missions have nothing, and normal missions usually you're talking to people. Basically has a beginning, middle, end cutscene, but the cutscene is just a dialogue box. But all the missions are basically the same. It's basically go here, do something, go here, kill this thing, go here, collect that, or go here, talk to this guy, to talk to this guy, to talk to this guy, to talk to this guy, and then you go back to the original guy and everyone's happy. And I don't read, honestly, I kind of have the philosophy in games like this that have this much text. If they're not willing to voice act it, then it's obviously not that important. And some of the missions are interesting and I'll read them, but for the most part, I just button mash through the missions. They're not that interesting for the most part. I will say though, and this isn't really a spoiler, and this whole thing is going to be spoiler free. I'm probably not even going to talk anymore about main missions. There's a lot of people die in these side missions. Like, when I mean die, like straight up, like they just die. They like shoot each other and they die. It's the weirdest thing. I don't remember that happening in the other Xenoblade games. It might just like have not crossed my mind. But like, I feel like a lot of people die in these little side missions, but not like important characters, just like character you meet from the mission. I should say about the map, there is like a whole nother, you can see segment screen in the city. For the most part, I don't really look into this because so many of them are locked, and I think that's just because they're all missions. They're all just missions that you get between other missions. Overall, I would say about the game is if you've played another Xenoblade game, you probably like this one. You probably don't need my video to tell you that you're gonna like this game. If you're somebody who's interested in Xenoblade, this is probably the best game to get into. There's really not a bad one to get into. I actually haven't played the third game all the way through, but I think the only thing that even connects the three, numbered Xenoblade games is the DLC for the third game. So you're probably fine to jump into any of them. But I think this one's honestly a really good game to jump into. It's really fun. I wouldn't say that the skells really change all that much. They do, some areas are basically the only way to get to them is to use a skell. So they expand exploration, but as far as like expanding combat, it's more of like a side grade than anything. And they honestly take a really long time to get. It took me 33 hours. Now, obviously if you're faster than me and you don't care about doing all the little side quests, if you can definitely be faster than me, especially if you don't care about doing all the side quests and everything. I tried to do all the side quests. Oh, there was one thing there's like a big feature in a lot of Xenoblade games called Heart to Hearts. And if we look at I can't look at the active members when I'm in the robot. I think I can't look at the active members because I'm in the middle of a mission right now. Either way, when you look at the active members, they all have heart ratings on them. And that's basically what their affinity is with you. The heart-to-hearts in this game, well, I've not seen him before. I don't know why he's here. But the heart-to-hearts in this game are not like the heart-to-hearts in at least Xenoblade 1. They're kind of just like another thing to go do. The affinity missions, I would say, are more closer to heart-to-hearts from Xenoblade 1 than any other game. And if you're worried, because I wish I could show you, but it actually won't let me in the screen. If you're worried about there being I think there's 16 playable characters. If you're worried about doing or actually getting all of them, it really doesn't take any time at all. I've done it and I've just been cycling them out, and it's been pretty simple for me. If you are interested in the game, I would honestly give it a shot, especially if you've been interested in Xenoblade. I will say Xenoblade is kind of an acquired taste of an acquired taste. In a lot of ways, if you found it kind of hard to get through, especially a newer Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 16, or the newer Visions of Mana game, you might not like this game, honestly. Xenoblade has a lot going on. There's a lot of upgrading. There's a lot of thought you can actually put into the combat. There's also a lot of thought you can not put into the combat. The fact that there are 16 characters to upgrade, I usually don't care too much about most of them, and I just kind of upgrade whatever their default stuff is. But you can really get in depth. I actually think the skells are kind of fun because you kind of buy your way into upgrades rather than solely relying on level ups to get new abilities and everything. But yeah, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I might make another video one day, but only if you like and subscribe. If you don't like and subscribe, I might do bad things. I might do really bad things.
I hate you all. Please do not come back. Goodbye.
Run through the cold of the night as passion burns in your heart. red